In 359 BC, King Philip II ruled Macedonia for 23 years. He was the youngest son of Eurydice I and Amyntas III. His two brothers, Alexander II and Perdiccas III, were also kings of Macedonia. He was born in Pella in 382 BC. From an early age, he was imbued with Hellenic culture and received a military education, as he had been taken hostage in a battle between Illyrians and Macedonians. At that time, he was only 14 years old and lived 3 years in Thebes, the hegemonic polis of Greece, until his brother Perdiccas rescued him. When he returned to Macedonia, he was regent of his nephew Amyntas IV, who was a child when King Perdiccas III, his father, died. Finally, Philip turned 22 and took over as sole ruler after dispossessing his nephew and facing other pretenders to the throne. Philip II stood out as a powerful monarch precisely because of the excellent military tactics that led him to position himself victoriously at the head of the Balkans and continental Greece. Moreover, he made military reforms of great relevance that gave the Macedonian army a nationalistic character, sustained by a renewed superior armament and a highly organized deployment in battle. The troops were very well prepared, trained and formed, and consisted of phalanxes, hypaspists, light infantry and cavalry. In addition, the war machine specialized in besieging cities with catapults and mobile towers to reach the walls. As for his way of being and governing, it can be said that his pragmatism, his skillful diplomacy, and his strategic way of commanding his military troops stand out. As characteristic features, it is known that 3 years before being assassinated, he had received a spear that pierced his knee, so he was irreparably lame. In 355, he had also lost his right eye in the middle of a battle against a colony of Athens in the Gulf of Thessaloniki, ancient Methone. It is assumed that the impact was received from an enemy arrow. As for his diplomatic, political, and military power, it is worth noting that, in addition to the victories he won in battle against the most powerful armies of the time, he founded colonies such as Philippi and Philopolis. This monarch was well received by the populations of the weakened Greek cities for being a savior figure who held wealth and leadership. As he had control of the gold mines of Pangaion Hills in the city of Crinides, which he called Philippi, he managed to mint gold coins with which he ensured the prosperity of the Macedonian Empire that he deployed in the territories of ancient Greece. The fame of Philip II was due to the fact that the Athenian metropolis had lost credibility among its citizens, so the Macedonian represented salvation. The Greek polis were in crisis due to the disaster generated by the Social War, 357-355, and the Third Sacred War, 356-346, so the arrival of this leader meant hope in every sense. Philip II had the necessary strength to group the autonomous Greek metropolises into a single empire. For example, in 353, he had subdued the Thessalians. In 348, he had razed the city of Olynthus. And in 346, he had controlled the Amphictyonic League, a congregation of several polis in charge of the Oracle of Delphi and the Pythian Games. Thus, it gradually advanced territorially, to the point that in that same year, the Peace of Philocrates was signed between Athens and Macedonia. Sometime later, between 342 and 340, Thrace was taken and continued towards the region of the Straits. To weaken Sparta, he divided the Peloponnese Peninsula into 3 regions: Argos, Megalopolis, and Messenia, at a Panhellenic Congress in Corinth. In 338, he defeated Athenians and Thebans in the city of Chaeronea, in Boeotia, and that triumph led to the creation of the League of Corinth, of which Philip II was the commander-in-chief. With such strength and power, war was later declared against the Achaemenid Empire of Persia, which paved the way for the final conquest by Alexander the Great, his son and successor. Alexander was the son of Philip and Olympias of Epirus, Although his father had trained him militarily and had even entrusted his intellectual education to Aristotle, he had also led him into exile for having repudiated his mother with the intention of marrying Cleopatra Eurydice of Macedon. Another expansive and diplomatic strategy of Philip II was to use polygamy as a means to expand his territorial domains by marrying women of different origins. This was already usual in the dynasty of the Argeads that ruled from 700 to 309 BC and of which Philip and Alexander were part. Philip II had 7 wives and numerous descendants. In fact, his assassination happened during the marriage of his daughter Cleopatra and her uncle, brother of Olympias of Epirus, Alexander Molossus. The pompous wedding was in Aegus, capital of Macedonia. When Philip II was about to give a speech, Pausanias, one of the members of the royal guard, stabbed him in the ribs and fled on horseback. As the assassin was brutally riddled with bullets when he was caught by the king's personal guard, the motive for the assassination is unknown, and throughout history there have been all kinds of speculations. It is believed, on the one hand, that it was because Pausanias was the monarch's lover, but also that it was a conspiracy between Olympias and Alexander the Great. What is certain is that Philip II was killed before the expedition to Persia, so that the way of such a conquest was paved for his son Alexander III of Macedonia, the great and glorious, who then went down in history also thanks to the deeds of his father. Don't close the video yet. Before you go, please subscribe and leave us a like if you liked the video. It will help us grow and continue making much more content. Now, with nothing more to add, we say goodbye.